the Taylor's Point Improvement Association. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Lieutenant Phil Tura, the Bourne Fire Department.
All right. Thank you, Joe. So good morning. First off, I want to thank the Taylor's Point Improvement Association. If you weren't here last month, my daughter was one of your recipients for the scholarship for college. And she's going off to, she's not sure if she wants to be a vet. She's not sure if she's going to do that, but she's going down that path of veterinary. So that's good. And she starts in a few weeks. So thank you very much for that. And if you weren't here last month, I want to say your last month's speaker was super informative and super important. Larry Dapsis from the county, the entomologist. And after I was at that presentation, I did go and watch his videos and took his advice. So I suggest you do that too. It was all about tick-borne diseases. So definitely go to that, the Barnstable County entomologist, and he has all that videos online that are really, really informative. And we do too. We have, at the fire department, you can always look up, we don't have them for the Bourne Fire Department, but we have videos for anything to do with fire safety, so you can always look those up. But today, I'll say a little bit about myself, but we're going to talk about fire safety. That's what Joe and Peter had asked us to do. So, and I know it said in the paper you'd have Joe Carrera. Well, I'm a little bit better than Joe, so you can cut that part out. But yeah, so that's why Joe sent me. Anyway, so my name's Phil Tura. I've been on the fire department here 30 years, and I've been in fire and EMS service for 38. So I could have retired a few years ago, but I'm going to go in October. So I'm still going to be hanging around doing a few things for the department, but and one of the things that I like best is doing public education. So what does the fire department do? All right, that's what people always ask us, what do you do? Well, the obvious part is we put out fires, right? Responder fires. Our next most important job is respond, and probably our most important job, the most job we do every day, is EMS. The station that I'm assigned to today, they have someone covering for me. We've already been to 2 calls. One at the jail and 1 trauma call for a bicyclist down in Scraggy Neck. And it's not even, well, it's 9:30, you know. So it can get busy. Today I expect it to be very busy, just like even next weekend with road race weekend in Falmouth. It's going to be very busy weekends coming up. So those are the 2 most important things we do, or every day. But there's lots of other things. We do fire inspections. I don't know if you sold your house recently, you had to have a fire department member come out and take a look at those. We do plans reviews. Those are like the mundane tasks that are required by law that we have to do. There's a lot of regulations we have to follow up with oil tanks and things like that. You know, all the other emergencies, and we call ourselves pretty much like an all hazards department, where if you call for a problem that's unknown to who you call, it's usually us, and we go out and see what we can do to mitigate that problem. All right? So when there is a type of call like that you don't know who to call, and you can't find the number, please dial 911. All right? We get calls every day at the fire station for the main number, for the business number, for emergencies, every day. And if that station is not in quarters, if they're out on an emergency, there's nobody there to answer that phone, except for Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Okay? So please, if you're not sure who to call and it appears to be an emergency, call 911. So examples of that are your smoke detector's beeping, your smoke detector's sounding, but there's no fire. I've called every number that I know, and they drive to the fire station, and we're backing in the trucks or the ambulance, and we have to go to their house because they've driven all the way. I mean, people just are afraid to call 911. Please don't be afraid to call 911, okay? It's there for emergencies. It's an easy 3-digit number. If it's something that doesn't require a fire truck, we'll just send an officer in a car or a pickup truck or something like that. If it does require a higher response, then that's what we'll send. Okay, so please don't hesitate. All right. So some of the other things that we can do water rescues. So we do have a boat. We actually have a couple of boats. We have one in the water. We have a couple small ones for the ponds, for the smaller harbors. Rope rescues, we have all the equipment for rope rescues. If it comes to a dive team or a really high angle, if somebody was actually trapped under the bridge or up on the railroad bridge or something like that, there's a county-wide team that we can activate and get those people coming, so that we need more people. Right now you only have 9 to 10 people on duty at a time, and for an incident like that you need a lot more people to make sure, and you need the expertise. All right. So,
I just want to tell you,
sure.
I had the fire department, I called that 911, and I got the police.
Correct. Okay. So I will tell you this is a good point. I probably skipped over that. So when you do dial 911 in the town of Bourne, every place is a little different. If you dial 911 in the town of Bourne, it's going to go to the police department. They're what we call the primary answering point for Bourne. And if it's for the police, it'll stay with them, and they'll take the information and dispatch their police resources. If it's for fire or EMS or one of those other things that they're not sure about, then they'll send it over to the county. The county dispatches, which are located on the base, dispatch fire and EMS for the town of Bourne. They do it for a lot of other towns as well.
I said, oh, I'm looking for the fire department.
Yeah.
No, hold on.
Yes, they'll put you on. So they should answer it, Bourne 911, what is your emergency? Police, fire, or medical? And that's, yeah, they should say police, fire, or medical, and you'll say, I need medical. And they'll transfer you, they'll say, hold on, and they'll transfer you. So there is a small delay, but it's going to the right person to dispatch. And that being said, our dispatches will give you medical emergency advice. So a lot of people get mad at that because they're like, well, hurry up and send somebody. There are multiple dispatchers in that room, and one dispatcher is going to stay with you on the phone, and they've already sent a note to the other dispatcher to start the stuff. So while they're giving you direction, people are on the way. Everything's being processed, and people are on the way. So don't be frustrated if you're on the line with them the whole time. All right, they're going to give you directions to help the person in front of you. So the firefighters, in the town of Bourne, the firefighters do the emergency, actually everywhere on Cape Cod, the firefighters do the ambulance. So they'll do the EMS part of it as well. All right, so if you see a fire truck pull up, don't say, I don't need you, I need the ambulance. We work together, and we're going to help each other out. When we talk about fire and life safety in the home, okay, the number one thing you have to have, the number one safety device in your home is a smoke detector. All right, I just brought this one. This one is just a battery-operated smoke detector. You put the batteries in and mount it. Any newer home, any home built after 1975 is required to have hardwired smoke detectors. So probably most of you have hardwired smoke detectors. There's probably a few homes around here that still have just a battery. Yeah, that one must be hardwired, right? Yeah. So a hardwired smoke detector also has a battery backup in case we lose power. All right? The newer ones, you don't have to change the battery. It's good for the full 10 years, and at 10 years, you throw it away and get a new one. Okay? There are other ones, mostly they probably have a battery pack where it's either underneath, so you have to take it down and put it in, or it comes out the side and you change those. And they're either 9-volt, they used to be exclusively 9-volt batteries, but now a lot of them are AA's, 2 AA's. So you'll see that. I believe that one's probably 2 AA's. All right? And if you do have the hardwired ones, the next most important thing to have, and I do have pamphlets, one for smoke and one for carbon monoxide. So the next most important thing to have is a carbon monoxide detector. Okay? If your house is older and doesn't have the hardwire, you can get one of each. You can get a smoke detector and a carbon monoxide separately. If it's hardwired, I recommend getting a combination. One combination on each floor. All right? Question?
What level of height does it come?
Ah, that's a great question. So here's the thing. When smoke happens, and I'll get to carbon monoxide in a second, when smoke or a fire starts and you have smoke in incendiary or small stages, it's going to put out smoke. And it rises because it's lighter than air. Sorry? Yeah, nope, I don't have to go. Things are covered for now. I don't have to go if there's something really bad. So smoke rises. That's why we put smoke detectors on the ceiling. We prefer them on the ceiling. They can be on the wall, but they have to be high on the wall. No lower than 12 inches. All right? So smoke is lighter, and it's also energy, right? There's energy from the fire pushing it up. Okay? So that's why we put them up there, because that's the first point that it's going to alarm. It's the quickest point where you're going to get an alarm. If I had a smoke detector down here and the fire starts over there, it's going to come all the way across the ceiling and have to bank down to here before it sets the alarm off. So that's why it's up there. Now, carbon monoxide, its specific gravity and weight is very much the same as air. So it doesn't matter where it is. Okay? So it's fine that it's up here. In the heating months, when we have more of those carbon monoxide detectors, the heat will rise, and so will the carbon monoxide. But it will also settle out throughout the whole area, and so they can also be plug-in units. You'll see a lot of plug-in units that plug right in. So at a minimum, you want one in the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. And the second floor needs to be outside all of the bedrooms. All right? The good thing about the hardwired ones is if you have a carbon monoxide leak in your basement, which is where you mostly have them, or wherever your heating source is, the good thing is if they're hardwired, if it's in the basement, it will activate the ones on the second floor where you're sleeping. So it will tell you. Where the battery-operated ones will just operate right there. It'll only communicate right there in the basement. So if you're sleeping, you might not hear it. That's why that's why we put hardwired smoke detectors in, so that if there's a fire or carbon monoxide in the basement, it'll alert you throughout the whole home. Okay? Yes, question? No.
I have a problem, my hot wire is right out, the open door, front door, it's right up here.
Yep.
And there's a humidity or a fog.
Correct.
A damp thing goes off.
Yep. So her point is she has one by the front door, and if she opens it up, the humidity might do that. Same thing with showers. So a lot of times we'll change those over to a specific type of smoke detector, photoelectric versus ionization. Ionization is good for basements, for smoky fires. It'll pick it up sooner. Photoelectric does what it says. It's a photo. So it sees smoke, or it blocks a beam from smoke, so it picks it up and lets it go off. It's kind of complicated, but it's difficult. They're in those areas because that's the building code. So that's why it's by your door. That's why we don't like them near your shower. But they need to be within 10 feet of the bedroom, so that tends to be right outside the bathroom sometimes, depending on the layout of your home. A Cape home, that's exactly where it ends up being, right outside the bathroom. But that's why we went to photoelectric versus the ionization. The ionization picks up the chemical particles, and the photoelectric basically sees the smoke. That's simple terms. Yeah, speak to your son about changing that out. And you should change them. I mentioned earlier, it was a quick mention, but after 10 years, you should change out your smoke detectors.
Yes, that's what I.
Yeah, once they've reached 10 years old, and on the back, if you take it down, and on the back is the manufacture date. Okay? If it doesn't have a manufacture date, it's very old. I found one of those the other day. Yep. Well, a lot of times when we go to medical emergencies, if there's an extra person, myself, I'm a lieutenant, so I'm a supervisor. If I go to that medical emergency, one of the things I constantly do is I'll look around to make sure the house is safe and make sure that the smoke detectors look fairly new. I won't go taking them down into medical, but if it looks pretty old, I'll mention it. And if I have a chance and I have a few minutes afterwards, if I'm not needed on the ambulance, then I'll go back and look at them with the remaining family members. But yeah, so 10 years. A standalone carbon monoxide, one that you plugged in or you separately have up on the wall or the ceiling, those are usually rated for 7 years. All right? So again, it's the most important piece of equipment, life safety equipment you can have in your home. A couple other things about them. A lot of people with the wired systems, they all go off, so you don't know which one it is, right? I see you shaking your head. Yep, I've done that. Try figuring it out. So this is how I'm going to give you a brief explanation of how to figure it out. So you go and look at them, and if one of the lights is flashing differently than all the rest, it's probably that one, and it's probably either a solid red or a rapid flashing red light, and that's the unit that's affected. And if you take that down and unplug it and they all stop, then that's the one. We get to the houses a lot and every smoke detector is down, so we have to start all over again. And guess what happens? It doesn't go off. We put them all back and it does, shaking your head, yep, it doesn't, yeah. So you've all experienced some parts of this. Hopefully I can, help you troubleshoot them if you need to. But if you have any questions, dial 911 and we'll send somebody out. And like I said, it might be a fire truck. If we feel that it's not warrant that, then it'll be just one person in a car.
I just have one comment. We had all the smoke detectors going off and in the house next door and nobody was in there. So we called 911, they went in there and they thought that a spider web or something had come across the sensor, just something for people to know. So when it was happening to me in my house in the middle of the night,
correct.
I went down and dusted around the smoke detector in the basement, just so you know, something as simple as that could set it off.
Correct. So remember I said there's ionization and photoelectric? So the ionization ones tend to go off with showers and humidity. The photoelectric is a photo, so the smoke passes through the photo sensor. Well, if a spider goes through the and we live on Cape Cod. There's spiders everywhere. Chances are there's spiders everywhere. When I first moved into my house, which is built in 1890, there was spiders galore. That was the first extermination I had to do, was get rid of the spiders and then get the basement dry because that keeps them out. So spiders and humidity, as you said, can definitely be a problem. So in that respect, we like you to test them once a month. Hit one of the alarms once a month and test them, make sure they work, and change the batteries if they're not a sealed battery. If they're a battery that can be changed, you should change the batteries at least once a year during Fire Prevention Month, or what we do is we try and do it when the clocks change. We used to change in October, now we change the first weekend in November. So that's the most important time to do it. We like to do it, if you can, do it twice a year when we change the clocks. The clocks used to be like every 6 months or so. Now it's a little longer, but question.
So I was having trouble. I have a new home, and the battery operated ones were going off, and I kept changing to new ones and everything. So I bought the 10-year battery one.
Right.
And I have one that goes off in the middle of the night sometimes. Nothing's going on. Is it a defective?
It is possible. We do find defective ones that are only a year or two old, and they end up being defective. And no matter what we do, it still goes off, even after cleaning them or blowing them out or vacuuming. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to have to change it. That's happened to me at my house as well. It's not just the fireman happens to them too. Yeah, you're welcome. So vacuum them, change the batteries at least once a year, if not twice, when we change the clocks. That's our motto: change your clocks, change your batteries. That's a lot of information about smoke detectors. Everything from how to find them and find what's wrong and what you should do. But if you remember, it's the most important thing to have. Carbon monoxide and smoke detectors, the #1 life safety device you can have. The next thing is maybe a fire extinguisher. Please remember that a fire extinguisher is to help you escape the home. If there's a fire, get out of the house. Use the extinguisher to help you get out of the home. Okay, or if you go to a public building, you'll notice the fire extinguishers and the pull stations are right near the exits. And that's what they're for, they're to help you to get out. We have a lot of times people try and fight the fire for 3 or 4 minutes before they call us. Well, those 3 or 4 minutes, we probably could have been there in 5 minutes. Our goal is to get there within 5 to 6 minutes, so from the phone call. So you're already 9 minutes in, and a fire doubles every minute. Okay? Here's a stunning statistic that you're not going to like. Back when we were kids, because I don't see any little kids. I thought last time I was here there were little kids, so I brought some helmets. But They're not here. Yeah, they're all at the beach or whatever. So back when we were kids, we had 3 to 4 minutes to be able to get out of a house once a fire was detected by the alarm systems. Now you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So as we get older, it's going to be a little more difficult to make that 30 seconds. And the reason behind that is all the new furnishings. Okay? Back when I was a kid, I went down the street to Country Lane Pine Shop, and I bought a couch that was, or my mother and father did, bought a couch that was made of pine and cotton. Okay, what do you buy now? Plywood and basically gasoline. Seriously, I'm not kidding. The foam, it's very comfortable. The new couches, right? They're way more comfortable than the old wooden ones were, and the cotton. They're much more comfortable. There are some fire retardant chemicals on them, which we're finding out are not all that good for our health. But it's basically gasoline. When it finally catches fire, it takes off like a dried Christmas tree. All right? And the heat is very intense. It's more intense than we ever had. When I first started fighting fires, I would be able to go into a middle of the room, look around, look and see if anybody was in there on the floor, and I could find the center of the fire and knock it down really quick. Today, I have to stay at the door, I have to knock that fire down, then I have to go in and look, because the fires are such more intense. Okay, so that's in the home, in the typical home fire, that's what's happening. So we're going to get into some other things about your house and how to help yourself with fire safety, but think about that. If that alarm wakes you up at 2 in the morning and it's, darn thing's going off again because the humidity or the spider, don't be complacent. Check it out. Get up and check it out. All right? And don't hesitate to call 911 at all. Even if you think you smell smoke, call. We're going to come out and help you out. All right? That's what we're there for. All right. So that's a pretty stunning statistic for today's. And you can watch all those videos. The videos from NHTSA and the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, those videos are great. One of the things they point out is close your door. All right? If you're going, close your door. Leave it unlocked so we can get in. But if you close your doors, your bedroom doors, if you wake up and there's a fire in the bedroom down the hall, if you can close that bedroom door, that'll give you more time to be able to escape, and it will contain the fire. And you can watch side-by-side comparisons where the room here is completely on fire. It didn't close the door. It came out. The whole room's on fire. The hallway's on fire. But this person over in this room closed the door, and there's nothing wrong with that room. Maybe a little smoke seeped in. Those videos are excellent. And I can get those to Joe so you can put them on the website so you guys can watch them if you want. I'll definitely follow up and do that. All right. So I have some white hair now, so I need my glasses. All right. So help yourself at the end. Help yourself to any of the pamphlets. We have everything from fire safety, coloring books for your kids, grandkids that are here. Something that's coming up next month, September, emergency preparedness. This is a whole guide on emergency preparedness, and I have the small pamphlet, the small pamphlets available for that. But that's a whole guide you guys can have.
Just for people around here that are seasonal residents, make sure you're registered in the reverse 911 list we have in town. The smart911.com. There's a link on the Town of Bourne website because we had an issue in Bourne yesterday on the other side of the bridge with a contaminated well in the Bourne water district, and they had to notify everybody on that side of the bridge. Some people claim they never received a phone call. So don't assume you're registered. Go online and even if you think you're not, go online and fill that link out because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, I will say that they did change to that a few years back. You might remember it was a few years back. I was on the old registry. I was not on the new registry. But I found out fairly quick yesterday morning around 11 about that. And we've had a lot of people confused just because some news stations say it was the town of Bourne. You're fine on this side of the bridge. It just has to do on the other side of the bridge. There's 3 water districts in the town, and there's 2 on this side, and you're okay. It's the other side, where I live, where I'm stationed. So, shouldn't be too bad of a problem, and it should be hopefully solved in the next 2 or 3 days. The reverse 911 is an excellent thing to have, and especially, like you said, for a homeowner here, if this is your summer home or your second home, you'll get the notification that there's a problem,
Automatically, I'm year-round, but
Yep.
are you automatically registered?
No, you have to register yourself on, go to the town of, what Peter said, go to the townofbourne.com, and the link is there for the 911, to register yourself. You can also register yourself if you have any medical problems. We've always had that with 911. You can register with medical problems. We prefer just basic medical problems on the file of life, which I'll talk about in a minute. But if you have disabilities that's going to prevent you from getting out in a fire, you can put those on there, and that information will come to us as we go out, like right now. And it's going to go off again, too. So anyway, we're going to talk about fire prevention, and because we're some senior citizens, I'm going to actually use my senior citizen list that I do. And actually, I shouldn't say senior citizens. We are experienced citizens, okay? Is that right? I'm almost there. Not quite. All right, so we talked about maintaining smoke alarms, and I think I've beat that enough. Plan and practice an escape, okay? If you remember when you had kids in school, they always came home with that, right? They came home in October, Fire Prevention Month, with this thing about how to plan an escape of your house and know where your meeting points are. Those are really important. If you live in a community with a large housing, I don't think anybody here does, but if you did, we try and tend to engage with those communities and have one meeting point, because especially with the new buildings, like the new Calamar building, Connect 55 over here, you have 100+ units. How can we account for everybody? So a couple of the places that we have one meeting point for everybody, and you should have that for your home, okay? Because if there's 5 or 6 people living in your home, once you get out, you all want to meet in the same place. Make sure everybody's out. And once you're out, you never go back in, no matter for what, okay? We will come and we will rescue whatever needs to be rescued inside the house, all right? So plan your escape. Always know 2 ways out of every room and your house. Make sure windows and doors can easily be opened and closed, like I mentioned. When you get out, close. And you need to plan it around your ability. If you use a cane or a walker, take those items with you. Make sure you have those to get out, because if you use a cane and a walker normally and you're trying to escape without it in a hurry, what's going to happen? You're going to fall. You're going to trip and fall or do something. So make sure you use those. Obviously today we don't have to worry about this, but coming up in the heating season, space heaters, people like to use the space heaters near them, and you want to give space heaters space. Okay, so 3 feet all the way around. So if you have a yardstick, all the way around, 3 feet all around that heater. You want to make sure that it's not going to catch anything on fire. It can easily catch on fire and take off quickly. Cooking. Cooking is probably one of the more serious injuries we see with senior citizens. And these are national statistics that also relate to Massachusetts and relate to Bourne. We see, and I don't have my robe, but I usually will bring a robe to this, and I'll have robes with long sleeves. And here I am cooking over the stove with a long sleeve hanging down, right? So make sure those sleeves are rolled up, or you wear shorter sleeves or no sleeves at all while you're cooking, okay? One of the things about cooking, and please help yourself to some of the mitts I have here. As we get older, and I've seen it happen 100 times, as we get older, we cook, and we're leaving the pot of water on, and I'm tired, I'm going to sit down for a minute. And I sit down for a minute, and I fall asleep. Bring your mitt with you. Put your mitt on your hand. Obviously, my first word of advice is don't leave anything on the stove. We call it, if you know Yao Ming, he helped us in Massachusetts with the fire prevention. He was stand by your pan. Okay? Stand by your pan. Okay? So that's That was he came up with that little slogan, and that was awesome, right? So stand by your pan. That's what you should do. But if you have to sit down at the table or go into the other room, here's your, your parent used to tie the string around your thumb to remember. This is the new way to do it. Take your oven mitt and keep it on so that you know you got to remember to go back. All right. I've learned to use technology and set my timers, and that's really important. I'm always trying to multitask. All right. I probably don't have to talk much about smoking, but a big problem years ago, smoking in Cape Cod, what would you use for an ashtray? Shell, quahog shell, right? Something that's unstable, okay? We have seen, especially last year when it was super dry, you probably remember the Nantucket fire, the big fire in Nantucket, started by careless smoking in the trash underneath. All right, we see that a lot, outside fires that extend to the houses, especially during those dry spells. We haven't seen it too much this year, but it was very, very prevalent last year. So you want something that's big and large and can put out cigarettes to keep them in, contain them in, even commercially made units that will help stop the spread of fire. Last year, many, many mulch fires because it was so dry. Stop, drop, and roll. If you catch on fire, we have a little problem with the kids understanding that, but if your clothes do catch on fire, you need to stop, drop, and roll. Now, you have to do that to your ability. It's not easy for me to get down and do, and get down and do that quickly, but you're going to have to do it. So do that to your ability. If you have to go down slowly to one knee, do that. But get down on the ground and smother it. Right? Don't try and grab something and fan it, and you're just going to make it grow. So stop, drop, and roll. Do what you can. And always remember to use 911. Please don't hesitate. So one of the other things that we've studied over the years with the National Fire Protection Association, and because we have a lot of senior citizens that are injured for fire, is we want to talk about fire with fall prevention. Right? So I've talked about the fire stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about fall prevention right now. And one of the most important things, remember I mentioned you need to take your adaptive devices if you're trying to get out of the fire. At nighttime, just on a nightly basis, when you're trying to get to the bathroom, which is what we all have to do now at night, is make sure you can see. Set yourself up for success by getting night lights. Look out for yourself, be able to see and look at nighttime. So there's lots of nice devices now that you can plug into the outlets that shine at night, that show you the floor. They even built them into the outlets now, right? Night lights that will shine down in your hallway. So make sure you have good lighting for yourself. Tread carefully, so any stairs or anything that has slippery wooden stairs. I have an antique home with nice, shiny, finished stairs. As you get older, you need to put those treads down so that you're not going to slip. All right? Slippery when wet, use proper bath mats. Don't just throw a regular towel down on the floor because you're gonna slip and fall. Make sure that bath mat has a nice backing that's going to stay. Exercise on a regular basis, just walking is huge. We have a dog, so I'm walking every day with the dog. My wife does the morning. She does a lot of the afternoon, but every once in a while, if I'm around, I'll do it too. It's just a regular exercise is excellent for you. And that being said, is the next thing I lead into is proper footwear. Okay, proper footwear. Everybody in here probably has sneakers on, and they do, or flip-flops. As you get older, the best, we're not wearing high heels anymore, ladies, all right? When we get older, we need good, solid shoes. All right? Yeah, you're welcome. I don't see anybody in here wearing high heels today, so that's good. All right? Clear the way. Peter mentioned about an incident we had over the weekend last weekend that people heard about. Clear the way. This person got hurt because there were items on the steps. There were shoes on the steps. There was a shoe rack on the steps. You know, we went to another set of stairs that this lady lived in, and there were tools along the steps, you know. When you had kids, what were on the steps? The toys, right? Okay, so keep those pathways clear. The stairs clear, pathways clear. Make sure that you do those types of things, and you'll set yourself up for success. Throw rugs. This is something we see all the time. We see rugs on top of rugs. So you have a throw rug on top of a carpet. Not a good thing. Very easily trip and fall. If you have a mat, like you have the mats here in this room, they have a backing. All right, they're good for wiping your feet. But if you're going to just have a throw rug, it cannot be on top of a rug. If it's on a hardwood floor, make sure it has a good backing. All right, that's not going to do that. And I did mention, put your best foot forward, get good footwear. Okay, and when it wears out, change it out. That's pretty much all the things that I have for fire and fall prevention.
Do you have Knox boxes or something like
So
that?
yeah, okay, I can talk about that. So yes, along with the Council on Aging, the fire department has a program where we've purchased some boxes that hang over your door, and we can put a key in there so that if you push the button that you have maybe, or you call 911, the button's being the, I've fallen and I can't get up button, the alarm system. If the door is locked, then we can access that, and it's just the fire department, it's bonded. We can access that box and open it up, take the key and access in. And there's a couple ways. It usually is a hang over the door so that nobody else can get at it, and even if they did, it'd be very hard to get that box off. It's very thick steel. And there's ones that you can mount right to your home. But the Council on Aging has a loaner program. We loan it to you until you don't need it anymore, and then a family member gives it back to us, and then we loan it out to somebody else. And we do have those available. That's a
I've got one
good point.
from Home Depot. Would I just call the fire department and say, this is the 4-digit code for it?
No,
Okay.
we can't do that.
That's what my brother-in-law
Return it.
fireman said.
No. We have a good database, but it's very hard to remember everybody. So we have a specific key. It's on my radio here. The fire department officers, lieutenants and deputies and the chief, have a special key. This special key is bonded.
Yep.
All right, so there's a bond that goes with it. The town pays the bond. And there's one in every ambulance in a lockbox so that if we need extras. And we are able to access those boxes. All right, you are now actually on some multi-family homes finding the police need access too. So instead of calling us every time to get access to the building, there's a police Knox box. But those boxes are specific. That key, Knox box or any of these other boxes that are out there commercially made are keyed specifically for the town. That key is, like Fort Knox, KNOX. That's what the one we use in this town. That key is specifically for the town of Bourne. I can go to the town of Falmouth and it's not going to work.
So I would want one from the police, the fire department,
No, you wouldn't.
Uber.
Well, that's the way. You could use your other one for Uber. That would be fine.
No, but there's a police and a fire.
There are, but only on multi-family homes. On a regular home, will come out. If the police need to get in, that's usually what happens. Is somebody has a Knox box, the police get a phone call from relative. Can you do a well-being check? And if they can't get in and they see one of those boxes, we'll come down and let it in, because usually it's a medical emergency at that point. So it's good to have both of us there.
Without that, would you use an app?
There are some tricks that we know on how to get in. We try and do the least amount of damage. We'll also not do the damage in the front of the house. We might do it in the back of the house. But we won't do that unless we go through a lot before we do damage.
I really understand that.
Yeah.
There is humor to it.
Yeah, there is. And it's happened, and people get upset. But they're on the floor, and they need help, But yeah, the Knox Box program is an excellent program. Thank you for reminding me.
I was thinking about how they're trying to get rid of the fire retardant stuff because of PFAS and everything.
Correct.
Is that like if you had hand-me-down jammies for toddlers and infants and anything?
So that hasn't gotten to that point. So the question is about fire retardant and the PFAS, which are lifelong chemicals. It is a great fire retardant. However, it has now been determined that it causes cancer. There's more studies being done right now. I would probably suggest that if you do have hand-me-down jammies that are older than 10 years, that you probably don't hand them down anymore. Put them in the recycle. We have plenty of recycles around here and at the iSwim. You know, it's still being studied. It's still, it's sort of like smoking years ago. Somebody said it might not be good for our health, and somebody started studying it, and that's where we are. You know, so we're probably 20 more years out to figuring out how bad it is, and finding some alternatives. I know the colleges, WPI, Texas A&M, all those ones that have fire prevention, they're working on this. They're working on this a lot. So it's in the process, but we don't know how bad it really is. We know the AFFF, the aqueous film forming foam. We know that is very bad. They already were disposing that rapidly. But anybody who is a Navy firefighter or in the Navy, airport firefighter, and even myself and a few others years ago, back in the early 80s, well, I was mid to late 80s that were using it. We were in it all the time, putting out chemical fires. So there is a chance that we have we're all getting cancer screening. So we know that's it. It's being disposed of. New foams have been developed that we don't believe are harmful, but we're in the infancy stages of that. You're just hearing a lot about it right now, especially locally with the airport and the firefighting academy down in Barnstable. We're hearing a lot about that. Any other questions? Great questions. Yep.
I know that the council and you work together on those lock boxes, and I think it's a wonderful program. I'm on the board, but my other question is, are you still doing the grants for the smoke detectors? I know you did them a few years
So
ago.
yes, so for a while we weren't able to do that. So the grant for the smoke detectors are for people that we show up at a house and they might not be economically available to afford smoke detectors, and we show up at a house and they need smoke detectors. We'll give those to them. We'll help install them. The other thing is, if we go to a house and we find that there's no smoke detectors, again, it's the number one thing you can do to protect yourself. We'll install at least one smoke detector and one carbon monoxide detector until they can afford, or until someone can help them get that in. So it is a good program, and we have just got Joe Carrera, Jr., right, or the third. Just got that Carrera, yeah, just got that grant. So they just came in stock, and matter of fact, that's what reminded me to bring this, because that's one of them.
So are you working with the council on that?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Because we're having a meeting next week.
Yeah, so we are starting a community risk reduction program that's just starting. With the Assistant Chief, David Palazzi. Hill's going to be the one that's going to go out and do the Knox box and do a home safety study while he's there. All right, we haven't, since the past year or so, we have had a fire inspector, and that has allowed us to have a little free time to do those things. Before, it was we had to just go in, put the Knox box, and we had to run off to our next call. So yeah, so that's yeah, I'm sure David will be there. I'm sure David will be there, and they'll talk about it. But a community risk reduction program is paramount to life safety for the town, and we're just starting that up, and we're going to get that going more and more.
Losing on the electric cars and then where can that car move up?
Yeah, so the question is a concern about the electric cars. More importantly than the cars are the scooters and the bicycles. When you charge those items, those electric scooters and bicycles, just like back in the day when we first heard about it with the hoverboards, there are some serious problems with those. And New York City has the largest problem right now. They've already had like 15, and unfortunately, child deaths. 15 deaths altogether because of those, and they've had multiple fires. They have a fire a day with those e-bikes. Because one or two things, the technology isn't the best, and they use non-UL listed. If you're going to use a battery, you want to make sure it's UL, United Listings. They've tested it, make sure it's safe. But they use aftermarket batteries, and when they're charging, they fail. And if you've ever seen one of these batteries fail, it fails catastrophically. It just blows out fire for 10 or 15 seconds, and if there's something around it, like if you have it in your home, charging, it's going to catch on fire. It's going to catch your house on fire.
So it's probably good to unplug it once it's charged?
Correct. And charge it, be there when it's charging, or charge it in an outbuilding. But there are problems with the electric cars. You know, I don't know what the exact problems is with those, but some of the battery charging systems are not. I think the technology is probably, and this is my opinion, I think the technology just got ahead of itself, and it needs to back off.
I took 3 hours in that car to
Yeah, it's a good point she brings up. It took Wareham 3 hours to put the fire out. An electric car, a fully electric car fire, we need to monitor it for 24 hours.
Why did it take that long?
Because the battery keeps, no matter what you do, the battery keeps discharging. Yep, so it can take up to 24 hours. So when we get the fire out, which can take 30, 40,000 gallons of water, and we only carry it, 750 on the truck. So it can take all that amount of water to put it out. And then when it gets towed, we have to have it towed, we have to follow it, and we have to make sure that it's in a yard that's wide open and not near other cars. But those are things you need to think about today. That's actually an important thing to think about.
I think I better give.
So, okay, you're welcome.
Fire